So it's very interesting that, Dr. Ambish was very correct in, I was just pulling his leg. He was very correct in saying about 10 years, 10, I think, 13 years post the PhD. But what's interesting for me and a proud moment for me is that, I passed out exactly 20 years before. So, you can guess my age in that. So 2001 June is when I passed from IMK. Okay, I finished my MBA, and then, of course, I'll take you through what has happened and along with the journey. So it's been 20 years. Very happy to, talk to the batch. There are a lot of people who are more experienced than me. There are others who are, who are just starting out. So I thought maybe it's a good mix. So let me go straight ahead, and we'll just discuss probably 3 things. Okay, we will try to understanding what this whole scenario is. Okay, trying to understand you as an individual. Then we look at those paths ahead that you have, depending on what you're doing. And then, of course, a little bit of, I can give you some steps on how to achieve that. Okay, so having said that, let me make a disclaimer here. I'm also in the process of learning. I also am trying to understand, and figure out our space in the world. But let me try to put this in perspective for you. So the first point I would like to discuss is this whole concept of you. Okay, who are you? And it's a very philosophical question. Okay, who am I, and why am I here? So often what happens is, in your 20s, you will have this massive energy to change the world. Okay, just like what St.Josephs said. Okay, we want to change, do massive things, and then probably 20 years later, you may think that, okay, maybe I want to rethink my priorities. Is this what I really want to do? And then as you grow older, we speak to people who are much senior. They would say that maybe I should have done something different. Okay, so let me just break it down for you. This question of who am I? And to understand that, I think the first and foremost point, this may seem a little controversial, but I think you should understand this. Life is unfair, okay? And this is not a negative statement, okay? But I think you need to get used to the idea that life is unfair, okay? And also understand that opportunities for jobs and everything else are unevenly spread, okay? But I'll give you a solution for this. And let me just break it down for you why I'm saying this. So if you look at the wealth, per adult, average wealth per adult around the world, you can see these areas here. Okay, so you can see some areas which are green, okay, dark green, and you can see some areas which are like pink. And so if you look at it, world by itself, you look at the income levels, they're quite different. Okay, so we belong to somewhere in the moderate category. If you look at the median wealth on the left side here, the World Bank classification. So there are a lot of people who are average income is more than 70 lakhs.
Dr. Thompson, the slides are not moving as such.
Okay, so I think this could be due to a failure from my side. Let me just retry it. So I just want to check which was the last slide you saw.
That's the first slide. That's all.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so let me just retry it. I'm sorry for that. Is this visible now? Shall I put it like this itself, or do you want me to maximize?
Yeah, it is now visible. Visible.
Okay, maybe I'll put it this way so that there is no lag.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. So I was just saying, this whole philosophical question about who are you, and the whole point that life is unfair and we should get used to it. So if you look at this whole wealth, this is the chart I wanted to show you. If you look at the green area around the world, there are people who are really rich. And if you look at the pink areas around the world, there are people who are really poor. By poor, we mean the average income levels are poor. Now, ideally, the situation should have been all green or all dark green, right? All countries should have had really good wealth and we should have equal distribution. But we know that in reality, that is not true. Okay, so there are, by whatever means, there are countries which are rich, there are countries which are poor. So when you're trying to create products, or if you're born in a place where you're born with limited circumstances. Now we are slightly better privileged. Okay, in India we are slightly better off than some other nations. So if you look at the really dark pink patches here, these are really poor nations. Okay, and we are not that poor. If you look at the the level of opportunities which are available to us. So having said this, when you try to understand this, if you're born in a place where you have limited circumstances, limited resources, we should understand that that is not your fault. It's not really your fault that you're born to difficult circumstances or you're going through tough times in our life. And if you look at the migration which generally happens, it is usually migration of people who go for greener pastures from the pink area to the blue areas of the world. Okay, so US or Europe or Japan or Australia, you see that maybe some of your friends plan to move and migrate. That's only because they are assuming that they get more income, because the job and salaries are much more there. Now, having said that, it's very quick, and I'll just break it down for you so that you understand. If you look at countries by design, okay, there are low-income countries, there are low-middle-income countries, there are upper-middle-income countries, and very high-income countries. Now, we belong to predominantly the lower middle-income category, as per the World Bank classification. Very quickly, what is the difference? Now, if you look at low-income countries, they are dependent on agriculture. Okay, very beautiful places to see. Okay, you go to a low-income country, underdeveloped, so-called underdeveloped countries, they are very beautiful green areas. Okay, very less number of people living in. The problem there is they'll have low literacy. There, the politics might be unstable. Think about some African nations, okay, where there are people coming in, dictators coming in, the military ruling the areas. So there, if you look at it, they are poor, and then they try to get some investment from outside, and then they get into early stages of industrialization, start putting in factories, okay, and then what happens is people's income start growing. And then once you reach the upper middle income, level, what will happen is there is a drastic drop in agricultural jobs. So Sri Harihara Subramanian was mentioning about the whole concept of the farm sector and how it happens and how to improve the farmers' lives. And because milk being a commodity which is needed for people, how do you improve that? So all these are very crucial questions. Now, when you move to high-income nations, you can see that their average income is roughly around 8 lakhs per annum. So there, what happens is they're in rapid industrialization. Okay, so you will find that they may not be very beautiful places to look at. Okay, they become much more concentrated, very densely populated. People want to go to that place for getting jobs. So to put this in perspective, this is how it looks like. So the lower middle income would look like, or the lower regions would look like the picture on top. Okay, and as it becomes more and more industrialized, you will find that it becomes more of a concrete jungle. Both are jungles. One is the green jungle, the other is a concrete jungle, so to speak. Now, why is this important, and why I'm putting this in perspective? Let me try to share that we always have these problems, and people who are on the green side of the earth would always want to visit these people on the city and the city part of the world, and those who are living here, a lot of them would actually want to go back and spend their time in the villages and the green area. It's ironic, okay, but that's how life is, so let's get used to it. So the point number one which I want to tell you was that there is a disparity of income. Let us get used to it. There is inequality. Let's get used to it and do something about it, rather than complain and just blame ourselves, saying that we are part of a system. Okay, so that's my first point. The second point is this whole concept of influences. Now, who influences me the most? All right. Now, in this crucial question, if you look at it, this red block which is within us, we are all having our motivations, dreams. Now, all of you want to get really good jobs, I'm sure. And but we are bound by some environment, education, culture, religion, that we belong to. And we also know that of late, last maybe 10, 20 years, you will find that there are two the ones marked in red, TV and internet. They are known as the other parent. Okay, so these two media devices will teach you stuff which your regular parents, do not teach you. So you have internal part of your mind which is bound by some external influences. Okay, now this is very straightforward. Chandrasekhar sir, I'm just trying to maximize this with the slideshow. Can you confirm whether you're able to see this? Sir, is the slide visible or? Okay, so can anyone unmute and just tell me whether you can see the slide? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Great. Thank you. So the ones in red, the TV and the internet, they are known as the other parent. Okay, so they teach you a lot of stuff. Now, which brings me to the most crucial part of it. Now, this is almost like a crash course in psychology, okay, which is about how we view the world. Okay, so it all starts with something known as a thought. Okay, it's known as the diamond in the mind ring. Okay, of course, it looks like a ring, and which is what we like and what we think about ourselves. Our frustrations, what we really like to do, our dreams, ambitions, insecurities, all of that starts there. The second level is perceptions. Now, in perceptions, what happens is this happens inside your mind, okay, and it keeps on improving, and it gets reinforced. And third block, maybe it's not possible for you to see this. It's called the belief system. Now, the belief systems are what drives us unconsciously. Now, once it becomes part of our belief system, typically what happens is it requires tremendous effort to change it. Okay, so just think about it. You don't have to mention it. You think about the belief that you have for certain parties, certain ideologies. Okay, whether you believe in that and whether the others are all bad and non-inclusive. Think about it. Or maybe think about your friends that you like. Okay, because they belong to some category. All of those are belief systems. And how do we get that? Purely through starting with the diamond ring, and then of course the perceptions and belief systems. After which we do some actions, and then there's a personality, and we view the outer world using this. Okay, I wanted to share a small video with you. I'm not sure whether the network will allow me, but let me show you one small example of what McDonald's did to change perceptions of individuals. Okay, so they wanted to start off in Italy, where Italians are known for their food habits. They love food. They don't like McDonald's, burgers which they feel is cheap and not tasty enough. So let me show you what the company did. Okay, I hope it'll work. Just 1 second, please.
Buoni è una parolona.
Just want to cross check. Can you see the video?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for this.
Buoni è una parolona.
Mangiare un hamburger vero non è mangiare l'hamburger di vero.
Italians have prejudices against McDonald's taste. How can a McDonald's restaurant become a media for those who underestimate it? By hiding its face. In the city centre of Milan, we opened a McDonald's, but we transformed it, disguising it as a gourmet burger restaurant. The Single Burger. Two famous chefs, Maurizio and Andrea, pretended to be the creators of the dishes. But what we actually did was to serve classic McDonald's burgers, cooked exclusively by a McDonald's crew. Exactly the same burgers you can find at McDonald's, but served on a slate plate. And this is what happens when you eat McDonald's without knowing it's McDonald's. After 3 days and hundreds of enthusiastic clients, we drop the mask. And in a few hours, the whole country knew about the experiment.
All right. Okay. I hope it's you understood that the McDonald's did something to change the whole perception and the prejudice that the Italians had. Okay, so I'll just continue from where I stopped. One moment, please. Okay, so this is the whole concept of my personality and changing the perceptions, and the most important part, so to speak, is what happens and why does this happen. In fact, it's very, very simple. There are, I'm sure you know this already, which is there are two parts of the brain, okay, which one is the rational side, the logical side, which has numbers, details, If you're really good in words and language, generally it means you are a rational person. And then if you talk to accountants who are good in mathematics, who follow order, they're generally rational. One word here, the rational person generally also looks for safety. They're less risk-taking, okay, because they are very reality-based and they're very practical. And the other side, of course, the emotional side, okay, so very feeling-oriented person, shows emotions all the time, and very expressive in what they do. And of course, there is also an element of gut feel and risk into it. And all of us have this, both parts of the brain, of course, but then one would be predominant depending on the kind of conditioning you received as a child. Okay. Now, which brings us to this Karan Johar question: should we follow the heart or follow the head? Well, the MBA answer to that is it depends. It depends on the situation and the context. Okay. So people who are very cold, you talk to someone, you can almost see that they're very calculative. Okay. So these are very rational people. And there are others who will just express yourself and do that. And why is this important? It's important because a lot of decisions that you take in your life, okay, starting from now or even till landing in your MBA or your PhD, has been based on either this logical planned or it just happened. Okay, you just went and took the entrance exam, or somebody told you that an MBA is good. Okay, so that's the reality of it. So you have so to put this in the larger picture, you've got your big, you've got your insecurity, your situations, your external environment, okay, and of course where you belong to. I showed you how the whole system works and how you take a decision. And I'll tell you why this is important. Now, all of this plays a key role in what we do in our life. And even once you cross, your age of 20, you should be in your 23, 24 now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, you will still pretty much be, react to situations based on what is predominantly going out inside your brain. Okay, so that's something which you should know, and you appreciate that. Probably there's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you if you are thinking predominantly from the emotional heart. But just understand that when you're doing that, you may be willing to take more risks. Okay, you will believe people more than you'll trust more people than you should actually do it. While the rational person will always be very calculated, will not take risks, will only attempt a few small steps at a time. And so understand this reality. Okay, now, as you are growing, when you're a kid, it's very simple, very black and white world. Okay, I hate you, I love you, that's it. But as you grow older, understand that you will also there are shades of gray. There are no areas, sometimes you'll have gray area where there is no clear black and white choices. Okay, and that is something which you would realize, once you join the workforce and, once you start interacting with people, that maybe people are not so black and white anymore, especially in the Asian context. Okay, so we are gray. Okay, so what does that mean? You can, you don't have to like a person, but you can still interact with them. Okay, there is no proper love-hate relationship. You'll find that a person is really good in some areas of their life, but really bad in some other areas. So there is no perfect way to look at the world. Okay, understand that there is a little bit of gray area. And I'll tell you why this is important. Just hold on for a moment. And the sum total of that is whatever you are going through in your life. Okay, no matter what circumstance you are from. I'm sure there are international students here who are coming from different parts of the world and who came to India for an educational experience. Whatever you're going through in whichever part of the world, understand that there is a reason for it. Okay, and be proud of the fact that you belong to whichever country you are. So that is the first part. Which brings me now to the second part of it. What are my options? Okay, from a career perspective, what can I do? Now, to understand that, you need to make, at least I'm using the MBA and the PhD research scholars as an example. Let me understand that the first part you should know is you have to have a sense of business. Okay, and I'm sorry.
Sorry for interrupting, but the slides are not moving, sir.
Okay, I'm extremely sorry. So what I'll do is, did you see the gray slide, or which was the last slide you saw?
Sir, about the personality. What makes the personality?
Okay, great. So, okay, I think I missed out a lot. So this is is it clear now? Can you see the slide now?
No, sir.
No. It does not come.
One moment. I think it should be a network problem. I'm sorry. Is this okay now?
Yes.
Great. So I think I will keep it like this. I will not expand it. So there are two parts to the whole story. What goes on inside the brain. There's the rational and the emotional side. Okay. And as I told you earlier, the emotional side takes risk and goes ahead and believes in the world and takes large risk, while the rational side is very calculated. And I told you that as you grow older, you move from the black and white world to a gray area. Okay, and that's all right. There is nothing wrong in it, but just be aware of that. So the second part, as I told you, is what are my options. Now, I think I'll scan this. I'll try to increase the magnification so that you understand really well. So if you look at the paths that are ahead of you, especially for trying to understand a business, just one moment, please. So there is something known as the, if you look at any business, okay, and if you look at Sri Hariara Subramanian, who mentioned clearly about the, the sector, which is the dairy sector, what we need to understand really is that, there is something known as the, just one second, I'm again, because I put in a little bit of animation to make you understand, but I think I may not be able to do that. So no problem. So just one moment. Now, if you look at it, I'll just show you the, this particular statement. Okay, don't get worried about it. Okay, it's not crash course in finance. Don't worry about it. But it all starts, if you look at the top area here, let me just magnify it for you. Okay, it starts from the income. So let's take the example of a simple pizza maker, somebody who makes pizzas. Okay, and see the income statement, and then I'll give you the perspective. Now, all businesses have only predominantly one income, which is the income that they get from sales. Okay, so if you look at the pizza example, the number of pizzas is 1,000 and multiplied by, let's say, 300 is the average price of a pizza. That makes it 3 lakhs. So if you look at this 300, this need not be one pizza that is getting sold. So typically what will happen is all companies will have multiple range of products. Okay, there will be a base pizza, there will be a slightly better pizza for 300 and a really good one for 500. Okay, so if you look at it, 900 by 3, the average price is 300. If you recollect what Sri Hariara Subramanian had mentioned earlier, he mentioned about value-added products being added to milk. Okay, the normal milk is there, and then you've got cheese, you've got more, you've got probiotics, which are more costly. Why is this being done? We want to increase the average price. Okay, so because the only two areas you can increase are, one is the number of pizzas being sold, of course, that is a sales function, and the other is the price of the product. When you increase that, automatically what happens is the price goes up. Okay, now you've also got expenses, okay, raw materials and salaries to be paid. And, okay, so let's assume it's all about 1 lakh rupees. So which means your gross profit now becomes 3 lakh minus, you brought in 3 lakh rupees and 1 lakh is out, that makes it 2 lakhs. Okay, so there is gross margin figure you hear about all the time, which is typically this 2 lakhs divided by 3 lakhs, around 66%. But that's not your, you cannot take it, the company cannot take it yet. You've got operating expenses. Okay, you got a sales functions, you got administrative utility bills to be paid. Okay, and suppose you are again reducing that, it becomes another 1.5. Now 1.5 is your operating profit. 1.5 by 3 lakh would makes it 50% operating margin. And of course, that money is not yours. The government will always want a share of it. Assume you're giving 20% of that to the government. Your net profit becomes 120. Of course, I'm not putting the interest component just to make the calculation simple. Now, why is this important? The income that you brought in is called the top line. You know about it. Okay, it's also known as the turnover. A lot of companies, if you look at the e-com companies right now, they speak about turnover being, thousands of crores, 10,000 crores. But the problem here is, what is the bottom line? And what is the bottom line we're talking about? The profits. Okay, which is typically what the company gets to keep after all the expenses are gone. And this bottom line is what is really important for a company. Okay, so why is this important? Why should you as an MBA student realize this? It's simply because if you go and have this fancy notions, especially if you're emotional, fancy notions about salaries, I want a 6 lakh salary, great. But if you talk to the company, where does that belong? It just belongs here within the expense category. Okay, so if you are increasing the salary by, let's say 10%, what happens is your bottom line will go down. So why am I driving this point to you? Understand the nature of business. Understand that at the end of the day, you have to contribute to the income of a company. Okay, now if you go to, let's say the CEO or a CFO, they love to see numbers. CFOs are chief financial officers. The moment you go inside their office cabin, they don't see you just like yourself. They always see something stuck on your forehead. You know what that is? The CTC, the cost to the company. You're walking in, that 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs will be written on your forehead when he speaks to you. So suppose I want to raise. He will say, what? You're not contributed. But suppose you go and ask him, I want to contribute to sales. I will bring in another, 10 lakh, 50 lakh worth of business. He will say, great, I'll give you a salary increment. Okay, so understand this. This is number one. Now, to make this simple, if you look at the this whole concept of profitability, which is important for businesses, all companies will have, different categories of products. And as I told you earlier, the shift from moving from, this whole classic customers who are, let's say, buying the base pizza and trying to push them to buy more products, more expensive products is the rule of the game. Okay, so at least marketing and the whole concept of product management is to make sure that the average, why is this done? So that the average sales number goes up. The amount which is being brought in goes up. So same for pizzas, it's same for cars. You've got hatchback, and then you've got a sedan, and you've got your SUV, all having different profit margins. So having this in perspective, let me show you one example. Now this is for the South Korean market. Dunkin' is a donut company, and they really wanted to increase their profits. And what do? They came out with variants of donuts, but they understood that the real trick here is to actually bring in the whole element of allied products. What allied products? Something that you can have along with the regular product. So along with donuts, people typically prefer tea or coffee. Okay, so Dunkin' did something very interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. Just a moment.
The capital of Korea, Seoul, is nicknamed the City of Coffee. There are over 200 Starbucks coffee shops and even more local cafes in Seoul. Even so, the coffee industry is still growing and competition between cafes is becoming even more intense. Dunkin' Donuts projects the image of a donut shop more so than a coffee shop. And as such, other places than Dunkin' most often come to mind when people are looking for a place to have coffee. Mission: encourage people to choose coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. The terrible traffic congestion in Seoul results in people commuting to work primarily via public transportation, on buses and subways. These people are busy, and so they stop by cafes on their way to work. How do we approach these people? Idea: release the aroma of coffee along with radio advertisements. After analyzing the Dunkin' Donuts jingle, we created a machine that releases a coffee aroma. The machine is triggered only by the sound of the Dunkin' Donuts jingle. This jingle was inserted at the top of the Dunkin' Donuts radio ad. When a Dunkin' Donuts ad plays on the radio, a coffee aroma is simultaneously released. Those who noticed the aroma while listening to the ad exhibited some surprised responses. Through positioning, when they exit at their bus stop, they see the Dunkin' Donuts shop in front.
Dunkin' Donuts.
오빠 것도 사왔어.
와, 근데 어디 거야? 향이 참 좋다.
바로 요 앞에 있는 던킨.
던킨 커피가 이번에 내리는 당신을 기다립니다.
They are much more inclined to make their stop at Dunkin'. Results: more than 350,000 people experienced the ad during the campaign. Visitors increased 16%. Sales of Dunkin' Donuts located by bus stops increased 29%. The ideal result is that people are now starting to think of Dunkin' Donuts when they think of their morning coffee.
All right, so I hope this is clear as to how the whole concept of business works and where you are in the largest scheme of things. So why did I mention this to you? The moment you pass out, okay, of let's say out of IMK, you might be getting a job, which may or may not be, close to what you like, okay. But if you take it up and then try to figure out a way how to improve profits, okay, or at least help out and talk to your managers and then understand where you stand in the larger scheme of things, it'll help you become much more successful. Okay, so it is important to know this. Now, having said that, let me show you the 3 distinct paths that we have. Okay, the first part, of course, is the job. Okay, let me just maximize this for you. Okay, now if you look at the job, typically the kind of companies that we'll get are slightly different. Okay, so if it was expanded, I could have shown this to you one by one, but then I think you should focus on the job part now. What is important is when you're trying a job, see, the companies that you have may be fast growing companies, okay? They may be medium companies or very slow growth companies. I'll give you an example. So when you're aware that, see, if you look at the University of Kerala, it is a semi-government kind of a department. So if you look at the pace which happens, it would be a very slow, very controlled kind of a pace. The moment you go and join, let's say, an IT company or a sales company, you will find the pace is so different. So don't get used to the pace you have while you're studying. Okay, so some of these companies will be very fast. Some will be slow, but of course, if you're joining, let's say, a government company, you may be able to have maybe moderately slow pace of growth. I'm not saying all departments like that, but it really depends on the kind of company you're getting in. Now, management, type of management, this could be autocratic. There'll be a boss who sit on you and try to make you do stuff. It could be very democratic. Okay, brought a team, there's a discussion, and your whatever you want to say are taken care of. And sometimes it'll be planned. You go to a company, everything is structured. They tell you exactly what to do. In some case, they will give a file and say, do it by yourself. Very chaotic. And salaries, no control over it, low, medium, high. And the risk factor also may be very high. So if you look at sales jobs sometimes, or jobs which have very good responsibility, the risk factor is also high. Now, do you have any control over this? No. It's given to you in a plate. You have to take it. Now, depending on the kind of job you're getting, sometimes you'll be frustrated, not like it. But my suggestion is at least stick around for some time and see whether you can make it. Okay. So for me, if you were to ask me, I had got a job in a couple of companies. I was not happy, but I quit. I mean, I left it very, very fast without necessarily giving the time to do it. But that's your personal choice. But I'm saying, understand how companies are. Now, what you're doing, try to build. Now, look at the last block here. Try to build a depth of skills. So when you pass out of from your MBA program or a PhD program, have some skills. So what are the skills you need? You need to be efficient. Okay. Also understand that there is a ladder. Okay. So just because you're the best person on the job does not mean you'll get a guaranteed promotion. On ladder, only few people can go to the next level. So you need to also be assertive. Just sit quietly and say, "Oh my, this man take care of me." Usually, it does not happen. Very progressive companies have a system in place, but otherwise, you have to fight for what you've done. And people always want to steal credit, and you may do something really well. Somebody else will take the credit. But eventually, try to make sure that when you're trying to join a place, have some skills, okay, and also understand the ladder. Have leadership roles in mind, but keep in mind that right now, when you're passing out, you will not get a leadership role. You'll be doing execution part and be ready for it. Okay, so that's the first block in two sense. If you look at business, if you want to start, some of you want to start business, again, there are fast growing businesses. If you look at the e-commerce sector, the banking sector right now, which is going through a disruption, where there is a lot of these players taking over businesses which banks used to do. For example, you've got these apps, finance apps, which are replacing what banks used to do earlier. Okay, where transactions and they give you interest, loans on interest, they give you interest-free EMIs. All of those are third parties. So depending on the sector you're choosing, it could be fast or slow. You may start a business with your own money or with somebody else's money, and this could be a high risk or a moderate risk. Now, if you're trying to start a business, what is the thing you should do? Build a team. Okay, try to set the right kind of culture. Okay, and find customers, because this entire scheme of business is about finding more customers and trying to grow the business. I know we are doing a webinar on the environmental day and the principles involved in it. Different story altogether. but your job is the constant search for more customers. If you do not search for customers, there is no business. The moment you don't have customers, you just have a fancy idea in your mind and businesses close down. Okay, so the key is to find customers and aim for sustainable growth. Anybody, you're working for any company also, your number one priority if you're in sales, marketing, or in business development would be to find more customers. Okay, and let's be acceptable to the fact that sales, nobody likes it, but we have to do it. Okay, and nobody comes out of a campus and says, I'm ready for sales. But I think there is a sales element in every function. Some of you would have taken the finance function, assuming you have to do a sale. I will assure you, one of the first jobs you'll get is go and find customers who've got money who will invest in this bank or in this company. You're an HR person, the number one job you get is recruitment, which is go and find out people and tell them how great the company is and to join the company. So you cannot escape sales. Operations, yes, you may be able to escape sales a little bit, but even there is vendor management. You have to go and talk to vendors, try to convince them to reduce the cost of the component so that your margins goes up. Okay, so that is as far as the business is concerned. Now, for PhD and for people who are looking for doctoral and teaching jobs, a lot of you may have taken this PhD by accident, or maybe you just took it up because it's the most clever thing to do right now. I did my MBA was in 2001, and I completed my PhD in 2008. Okay, so it's been around 13 years now, and the PhD is only the starting point. Okay, and a lot of stuff, if you were to ask me, I would go back again and redo because I learned it much later, not while doing the PhD. Okay, so if you look at what a PhD or a teaching job offers, depending on the institution, okay, and this could be, you could be doing it in a very large and nice institution. Okay, very good, all infrastructure is there, but very often a lot of us do PhDs from institutions which have very less resources, hard and soft. You don't have access to all the databases. You don't have access to, a lot of researchers who can help you do stuff, but we need to live with what we got. Now, the crucial point after doing a PhD, and I recollect what Dr. Shivaraman had mentioned earlier about his PhD and what he could do with it. We need to find a space. Okay, and my understanding after, and this is through a lot of trial and error, is find a space, a topic which you can own and do a lot of research work on. Okay, you would have already chosen it, but try to write more and more articles on that particular space. Now, is it easy? Not easy. Is it impossible? It's not impossible. So you can start by writing small articles, okay, and trying to give it to some small magazines or journals, and then eventually pick it up and send it across to journals which are Scopus indexed and or ABDC, or a lot of classifications on how to do it. Now, the key here is try to start writing. It may not come naturally to you. It doesn't come naturally to anyone, but try to start writing and try to build a collection of articles and place it somewhere on the internet. Why are we doing this? If somebody searches for that keyword, okay, they should find your article also coming up. And that's how you build an element of respectability and credibility. Okay, so that's as far as the PhD is concerned. I'm being very brief, but I wanted to give you an overview, the macro picture. But having said that, so I told you about two things: understand the nature of business, try to understand the ladder involvement. So let me show you the very simple way to understand this framework. Top management, okay, the one on top. What is their job? It is about growth and culture. Okay, grow the business. Understand whether the regulations are there. Does the government want something from us? Understand that and try to grow the business. How do you grow the business again? Find more customers or find more profitable products. Same income statement I told you earlier. And the equivalent instrument used there is the telescope. You sit and look and have vision and see the future, and even when it's not there, and constantly look for new opportunities. Middle management, what is their job? Supervise. Team management. Make sure that the control systems in place. And here you will find it's more and more of people skills, not your technical skills, which are important. So here the equivalent instrument is the stethoscope. Just to go look at the body and check if everything is going on fine. If there is any problem, take corrective measures. But you, okay, those who are going to pass out, most of what you do would be in the executive questions, which is do a job precisely and do it well. Understand everything about it. Okay, so the instrument of your choice should ideally be the microscope. Understand things, keep on looking and figure out what is the best way to do a job and become an expert in it. Okay, so but what happens is when you join now, you'll be starting to use the microscope, and maybe 5 years from now you become a team lead or become the head of business, and you have to use the stethoscope. And then of course, hopefully once you become a CEO or run your own business, keep in mind that your two jobs are grow the business and drive culture in the organization. Okay, so that's as far as the broad macro structure is concerned. Now let me wrap it up with just one final module, which is the real question is, what do I really want? What do you really want? Okay, all this is fine. Okay, business is great. They're making money. Okay, you've got these options. But, this really looks at what you want and, where do you want to start right now. We all know the Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, so interesting part is needs keep on changing over time. Initially, we want to have, our basic needs are taken care of. Hopefully, most of you would be taken care of by your family. And we belong to the safety shelter group. And then you want to have some. Now, if you look at the MBA batch right now, you want affection and belonging from your batchmates. But as you grow up, you become a team lead. It becomes more of, respect. I want the team to respect me and all that. And later, you'll realize all this is meaningless. Let me just go and share something to the world. Okay, and so we all go through this, and I don't want to break the suspense to you. I think you should go ahead and experience it fully, but realize that our needs are different depending on different parts, times of where we are. And the key here is you need to have well-defined targets. Okay, it is not enough that you have a vague goal, but it's important that you have a well-defined target. And let me show you an example of well-defined target. Okay, now this is for Perk, which came out with the campaign. Okay, which made fun of the competitor. Why? Because they wanted a small increment in their market share. Okay, so let me show you that example, and I'll take it forward.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Thompson? Yeah, go ahead.
डियर पापा, आज जब आपने सोनू भैया को पर्क दी और मुझे ये वाली वेफर चॉकलेट, तो सारी असलियत सामने आ गई। सोनू भैया की पर्क 17 ग्राम की थी और उसमें 4 वेफर थे, और मेरी चॉकलेट 11.5 ग्राम की थी और उसमें सिर्फ 3 वेफर थे। 1 वेफर और 5.5 ग्राम का फर्क शायद आपके लिए कोई मायने नहीं रखता पापा, पर इसी फर्क ने आज मुझे इस घर में अपनी जगह दिखा दी। मैं घर छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ पापा, आपका मोनू।
नई 2 पीस वाली कैडबरी पर्क ग्लूकोज, एक्स्ट्रा वेफर, एक्स्ट्रा चॉकलेटी, एक्स्ट्रा प्यार, वही 5 रुपए में।
So you'd have seen that, when a campaign like this, which gives you a few grams extra, and what happens there is when the same price, product at the same price, a few grams extra or a few chocolate, grams extra, automatically what happens is people would start preferring it. The chocolates become bigger at the same price. Obviously, in a supermarket, you would go and buy the bigger one. So it's important to have very precise goals. Okay, and let me just take you through that very quickly, and I'm wrapping it up. Okay, so just a moment. So the idea is that, you need to have well-defined targets. Okay, I'm sure most of us right now would be having a lot of dreams, and you'll speak about, I want this and that, big salary, rich, I want to have a slim body, whatever be it. Okay, cool job. But the well-defined goals are something like this, which will have numbers to it. So I want 5 kg, the same thing. Okay, the same thing, which is I want a slim body, can be I want to reduce 5 kgs of by the end of 2021. I want a salary. Okay, if you want to be rich, there should be an amount to it. Okay, and so try to make it as specific as possible. I know there are limitations based on your understanding at this moment in time. Okay, so you don't have to be perfect in that, and go for it and give your best. So why is it important? You need to have the reason. It's a very simple reason. The moment it becomes well defined, okay, you can actually measure it, and then you can break it down. Okay, so 3 years from now, suppose you're putting yourself a target of, I want, let's say a researcher, I want to write 3 articles, in the 2 years. At the end of the second year you can actually find out that whether you've written these 3 articles or not. Otherwise, you will never, you get so worried and do a lot of things together. You get bogged down by details that you will forget this big picture. Okay, so try to create some goals. And who am I to tell you this? What can I tell you about the goals? I can't tell you anything. It's your life, it's your goals that you want, but try to make it into a little bit concrete ones. Okay, now once you've done that, you need to break it down. Okay, and this is where it's very important. You need to prioritize it. Okay, so let's assume you've got 6 or 7 goals. Focus on the ones which are very highest priority, the must-do goals, and then put some in the should-do goals, and then of course put the others in the nice-to-do goals. Okay, now this may seem a little, that I'm giving you a lot of gyan on personality development. No, it's a very, very simple tool. Make a list of 5 things you want to do. Okay, and who can tell you that? Only you can do that. Okay, it's based on your interest levels. But try to see whether you're able to take care of your, your responsibilities as a son or a daughter to your family. Okay, and your responsibilities to yourself, where you want to achieve great things in life. But try to prioritize this. And once you prioritize this, try to break it down into small goals. So I'll give you an example. So a lot of us want to, make an investment. I want to become rich by the end of so many years. Unless you set those milestone goals and mini goals every day, or you break it down, what happens is we get so much of stuff in our life, and people want that, we forget this. Okay, when you enter into a job, there are a lot of things to be done. Nobody has time to look at your goals. It's very personal to you. And so you need to really focus your attention and make sure that at least about 2 hours in a day, try to find something which is meaningful for you. Okay, so for in my case, what I did was, I told you that teaching jobs is definitely happened because of the PhD. I never planned for it; it just happened. But for me, in my heart, I always wanted to be this, this creative, so-called advertising guy. And what I did is, so a friend of mine, we started off a consulting firm together, and we did some work together. It keeps me very happy. Okay, it keeps me in track with what happens in the industry, and that's something which is very very sensitive and close to my heart. Okay, so find some time every day for it. If not every day, at least in a week, you must do something for it. If you don't do this, what happens is at the end of 10 years, at the end of 20 years, you look back and say, what am I doing? Okay, and I think I've done a lot of things, but in the end, it doesn't add up. I don't feel happy with myself. So the simplest thing, at least now you have the advantage of 20 years ahead of you compared to me. So you can always say that, hey, I really want to focus my attention on this. This is something I really love to do. Let me spend some time on it. Whether I get money or not is immaterial. I may be doing a regular job, but let me just find something which is close to my heart. Now, there are a lot of you who would still be blaming circumstance and saying, no, this is all nice in theory. It cannot happen to me. I'm not good enough for it. Okay. My 2 cents is you can do it. And let me show you one last example. This is for the Argentine elections. Okay? Just before elections, you know how politicians are. They'll speak all nice things about it. But this is some campaign which is done in an extremely interesting manner. So this campaign is very simple. You will see some text scrolling, okay, and you will also hear the audio in the background, okay. And with this, I'll wrap it up in another 5 minutes. One moment, please.
This is the truth. If we turn things upside down, we can't be the best country in the world. I'd be lying to you if I said that Argentina has a great future ahead, that we will be a safe country, that our economy will be strong, that our children will be healthy, get an education and have jobs. Before anything, you must know, our country does not deserve such things. And I'm convinced of this because I know the Argentine people. Corruption and hypocrisy are in our nature. I refuse to believe under any circumstances that we could be a great country in the coming years. Thanks to the people's votes, this country is sinking to new depths. But there are even more surprises to come. Argentina has only one destiny. And whether we like it or not, this is what is real. You should know that I believe exactly the opposite. This is what is real. And whether you like it or not, Argentina has only one destiny. There are even more surprises to come. This country is sinking to new depths, but thanks to the people's votes, we could be a great country in the coming years. I refuse to believe under any circumstances that corruption and hypocrisy are in our nature. And I'm convinced of this because I know the Argentine people. Our country does not deserve such things. Before anything, you must know that our children will be healthy, get an education, and have jobs. That our economy will be strong. That we will be a safe country. Argentina has a great future ahead. I would be lying to you if I said that we can't be the best country in the world if we turn things upside down. This is the truth.
So you can see that one simple change in perspective, and what happens is it's a completely different story. It's never changed, okay, both ways. It's just how you looked at it. All right, so the final point which I wanted to share with you is, see, in life, I'm sure all the panelists would agree here, that there'll always be two paths presented before you. There'll be two roads. One would be a very easy way, a shortcut, okay, which you can just make a way through and get it. And there's usually the right way, which is longer and much harder, and very few people would have, really gone that path. You can decide, okay, but generally it's always safer in the long run to go for the right way rather than taking the shortcut. Because if you do something, the Malayalam word of udaip, okay, and trying to just do it, and just for the sake of doing it, your teacher gives you an assignment and just do it by copying something, okay, you're only fooling yourself, okay. But if you really work hard for it, maybe in the short run you may not get marks, you may not get, but if you build that habit to it, in the long run, this will really help you. And I think all the panelists here would agree to that. And sometimes when you're lucky, you have a rich uncle, you have a contact, okay, you have somebody who can help you. Life will offer you the short way, which is also the easy way, but the good way. Great, that's luck for you. Take it by all means. But whatever life gives you, and to put this in perspective, no matter what circumstance you belong to, where you're born, the kind of problems you're facing, the kind of internal conflicts that you have, okay, the kind of companies that you get jobs in, the kind of institution that we are exposed to, the kind of people that we have, make the best of it. Okay, there are a lot of good things that is there in campus. Enjoy your campus life, give your very best, and don't look at others, is my suggestion. Set your own standards. At the end of the day, the race is only with yourself, not with your friends. Okay, at the end of the day, you look back, your family, your people who support you will only be blaming you, or at least telling you that maybe you are the one who did it right. Nobody else will be there. So fight your own battles, but do it properly. And of course, you can always seek help of mentors. Your faculty are there. Whoever is willing to help you would always be there to help you. But give your very best, and I'm sure you'll do well. Okay, so and if you think that Corona is here, don't worry. 2001, I'm just one point, sir. 2001 there was the Corona. 2001 it was not the Corona. It was the recession time. 2001 there were no jobs when we came out. 2008, when I got my PhD, again there was a problem. There was an economical recession. Don't worry about this. Today it will be Corona. Maybe 2 years from now it will be something else. So problems will always be there, but try to figure out a way out.